So we contract with their limited company in every instance, and they have professional indemnity in place and other key insurances. There are probably about 35 providers in the UK. I'd say we're the most mature market globally. It's quite interesting now working and having offices in China and Germany and places. And the terminology I'm using, well, the kind of work they do could be very similar in America, but the terminology is very different. So, you know, we wouldn't sort of use the term interim managers in the US. It's much more it's much more around the term advisory and head. They use sort of this sort of head renting concept, which at the end of the day, people are going in to deliver projects. And interestingly, even the banks in the UK, we don't use the term interim managers. We just talk about program directors and change people, and it's just inferred that they are, in there for on a sort of interim contract basis. So like I said, I don't think we don't get too hung up in terminology. We think there are about 20,000 of these interim managers. We have about 18,000 or so on our books, but they're not all interims. I think our pool, there's often a continuum where an interim might move into more of a plural existence, part-time or non-executive director roles, more voluntary roles, and as I said, it's business angels. There's a really interesting mix. I mean, yes, there is a pool of 5,000 or 6,000 sort of mainstream interims, and there's a lot of program, not straightforward. Lots of program project management work in that box. The age is coming down significantly, and the gender mix. When 11 or so years ago, our database was something like 11% female. Sort of 0%, or virtually 0% of international projects were female. Now we're the mix is about the mix of placements is 36% female and rising. So I'm really pleased about that. I mean, it used to be 50-50, and that's where it will. That's our aim. Is 50-50 because it's a great choice, but hopefully for everybody. As the age is coming down, it's a bigger market. It's more a lifestyle choice to become an interim. We're seeing really high-powered interims in their 30s, and that can feel a bit young. But the key is that they have in their careers, and sometimes it doesn't take as long to create their professional product. And that's what it's all about. It's about having to make absolutely one or a couple of professional products that the market needs. And that doesn't correlate to a certain age. It's about that experience. Let's see. Let's move on. I mean, I think we're feeling things are quite buoyant at the moment. I think we're continue seeing a lot of work in more work in the public sector, actually, with some key, especially digital programs, digital rollouts of modernisation programs within the government. There used to be a lot of work, not just in financial services with risk, but for example, the Consumer Credit Act coming through, a lot of work with retailers, or bringing them under the under the government structure of the financial regulator. More transformation program. I think our industry continues to mature. We have an industry body, the IMA, that looks after the providers. We have one that looks after the actual interim practitioners themselves, called the IIM. If you scratch the surface, I would say if you scratch the surface of our industry, there's a lot there. There's lots of there's lots of, sort of discussion groups and interim dining clubs and what have you. It can be quite a lonely world out as an interim. I was an interim for a few years. It was very much for the right thing at the wrong time for me. And I guess that's sort of what I said. It's about when you're ready because you've got a product really in demand. You've got a brand and people are getting hold of you, whether it's the likes of a Russam or it's your professional networks, and say, we're always busy. I need you for for a project. And so it can be a lonely world. So there's quite a lot of good networking groups and interims have to be fantastic networkers, because you know, if you're 6-8 months in a role, you're working till midnight, you know, or whatever it might be on that last day. You're part of the team. You're leading people. You're not on the peripheral, on the outside, consulting. You're in there with the team. They forget you're on a contract. Really. Suddenly you're gone, and you've got to have your next assignment lined up. So again, it's the interim, they're running their own serious small business. We call it the SSB model, serious small business. So the interim has to be quite savvy with how they think about their own, you know, marketing, their own operations of their own little company. They might be the only employee of that company, but they've got to think about where they're going to get the next roles, you know, get out there. You know, the last thing, you know, they want to do sometimes, you know, come to a very early morning breakfast or evening networking things when they've got to be, you know, way across somewhere. But, you know, you have to be slightly superhuman sometimes and fit it all in. Just a quick snapshot. I mean, financial services really dominates the number of placements, so just over 10%. There are some big chunky areas. Manufacturing, not-for-profit charities area uses a lot of interim executives. Healthcare, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off. But that just gives you a feel. It's quite a long tail as well. All sectors from my experience use have used interims and continue to use interims. Why are they 3/4 involved in change management, program management, supplying specialist skills, lacking in the organisation or diverted onto other work. So there's a big chunk there. New strategy, special project, business restructuring. You can see at the bottom, these aren't Russam figures, these are kind of industry figures, covering a temporary gap, maternity leave, sick leave is a very small. I think often organizations take that on the chin, and quite rightly so. They have a team and they say, well, why don't you step up, to the plate and take an acting role. And we often encourage that sometimes. Interim is often, as our guide says, there are other choices, other solutions, other ideas. What we want to do is challenge our clients to put this alongside those other ideas. It's hopefully a very good one that they might look to. But there are sometimes other options as well. And you see these are disciplines people are working in. And change transformation is again the largest. Finance, general management, sort of CEOs will come into that category. Program project management, sales. We do less than you might think in a sort of technology area. We might put in a chief information officer, but I think really tech IT roles dominated by these big IT recruitment companies and become technical. We tend not to do technical roles. We tend to do leadership roles, people that can often cross different industries and have the people and leadership communication skills. Maybe some time ago they were an engineering background, but they moved into management ranks. A couple more, just a couple things. How about on time? Am I way over?
2 or 3 minutes.
Way over. I told you I would be. I needed a big red flag. Honestly, I could go on all day. I won't go into these. I mentioned our international group. Ross mentioned Trustees Unlimited. We like to, in our logo, there's the word innovation, and I think we really owe it to our founder, Charles Russam. I mean, I think it's in our DNA. We tried lots of things. We don't just want to, as I said at the beginning, we don't want to just talk about recruitment. We want to talk about networking, thought leadership, and interesting events, and relationship building. And that's what our industry, that's what I think our brand is about, and our relationships. And I mentioned all of these, but Devonshire House is a pretty unique networking group. It's the human side of business. It's really the CEOs, chairs, HR, people that really have a focus on the human side of their enterprise. So we have a group there, and if you want to know more about it, I can tell you later on. Tonight we have a Russam Net Group event. We have really controversial speaker on shareholder activism, and again bringing in clients we work with at board level, have good debates on Chatham House rule. I mentioned the IMA before. So that's just a quick overview about our sector. It's an exciting one. It's growing. It keeps taking, has a bit of a life of its own. It keeps changing, molding. It's much more international now. The British interim really travels well. We're very don't think we have really language skills. We're quite lucky to speak good English. But those statistics are really growing, overseas. So I'll hand over to you. And I can ask you questions a bit later on.
Thank you.